There is the Mazda 787B, the Le Mans car, the car that won the Le Mans race, the 24-hour race in 1991, and pretty much nothing else. And yeah, that's the sound of that rotary engine. It's an interesting car, and it's mostly interesting because of the misconception of this car, that this engine was so great and so powerful and so brilliant that it was banned. And that's not in fact the truth. You see, the previous cars, the 767s, weren't very successful. The 787 wasn't very successful. And the 787B wasn't very successful either. But in 91 it did win the Le Mans race. But one has to remember here that money is what banned this engine. Because Vice President of the FIA, Bernie Ecclestone at the time, he wanted to sort of standardize everything to 750 kilogram machines with normally aspirated engines that were 3.5 liter racing engines. Basically something for Formula One teams to sell to Le Mans racing. It is just all about money and keeping prices down and keeping more manufacturers building engines in Formula One. And in 1991, there weren't enough cars to comply with the rules, so they allowed the older cars in, which made the older cars complying with the older rules much faster than the newer cars. So the newer cars had no chance, and that season was really just between Jaguar and Mercedes. That was it. And those cars failed at Le Mans. The Peugeots were running well at Le Mans, but they encountered trouble. The Peugeots were Category 1 cars compliant with the new rules, but they were teething problems. Yeah, and the Peugeots continued to lead in the early stints until they had problems. One of the cars was constantly in the pits. One pit stop was like 45 minutes. It cost them so many laps. And the other car retired, stopped in Indianapolis corner with a blown engine. Jean Todt there, the boss of Peugeot, looking very disappointed because both his cars were out. After 18 hours of racing, the lead Mercedes had done 275 laps and had a 3-lap lead over the Mazda, but was overheating and came in for a stop where they replaced a drive belt and a water pump, and that cost him so many laps, and actually managed to finish 5th. The rest of the Mercs also retired from the race. Porsche were not having a good showing either. They hardly featured. And so the Mazda kind of inherited the lead. The Jags were still using their big heavy, well, they were big heavy cars, and they were using big heavy 7-liter V12s. So they had to drive slow to preserve fuel. Really a race that was rather than won by Mazda was kind of lost by everybody else. But at the end of the day, Mazda won the Le Mans in 1991, and it was very good for a very good result for Johnny Herbert, Volker Weidler, and Bertrand Gachot. But Johnny couldn't even make it to the podium. He was dehydrated after the race and didn't make it to the podium. And it's a car that we're racing for to win in Real Racing 3, and that's the footage you're looking at, a 4-way split screen here. So, just a bit of fun. So not a car that had its engine banned because of performance, but it certainly sounded good and went really well and was reliable, and that's what led it to win. But it only finished 5th in the championship overall in 91. So it wasn't to say that it was banned because it was such a brilliant engine and no one else could compete with it. That's very far from the truth. It was banned because of the regulations. And just to give you some insight on that, the following year the Peugeot would win with a Formula One engine that was also would be supplied to Jordan and Prost and even McLaren. So and Jaguar were using the Ford engine that was in a Benetton, so for the XJ14. So it was a way of saving money and allowing manufacturers to build engines for Formula One, and then that could also be used in endurance racing to sort of keep the cost down. So you weren't building two different engines. They could keep the costs down that way. So yeah, this is Real Racing 3 footage here. You can download Real Racing 3 at the App Store for free. Play it on your phone. It's pretty cool because you brake and accelerate with your thumbs, and to turn the car you tilt the phone. So it's kind of like, yeah, it's almost like a sim kind of thing, that you turning a steering wheel, like playing with a full-on sim rig, but it's not. But you know, I suppose it's a mobile game. So yeah, and at the moment there's an event out where you can win the Mazda 787 for free, which is pretty cool. You got to buy upgrades for it in order to win the event, but still, you know, that's fair. You get the car for free. So that's what I'm busy doing. If you want to check out those videos, have a look here. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this one. A quick look at the 787B and some of the myths about it. But still a very cool car, and it's a very awesome sounding car and a very awesome engine. I was a fan of the Mazdas in Le Mans because at the time we had modified saloon racing, and I supported a fella called Ben Morgenrud, and he drove a Mazda RX-7. And then there was Group N. Group N, he drove a Mazda 323. Those pretty much just stock cars, they didn't modify them at all. But yeah, so Benny drove Mazdas, so I was always on the lookout for Mazda, and I remember being quite happy when I saw the Mazda had won Le Mans. But yeah, kind of did inherit the win though. But still a cool car that'll always go down in history as yeah, awesome. First Japanese manufacturer to ever win Le Mans as well, so can't take that away from him. Guys, it's back to trying to win this car for me, and I'll see you in the next video, and until then, have a good time all the time. Cheers.